So for the final time this year, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese will be facing off for the final time this season as the Indiana Fever head to Chicago to face the Chicago Sky for the last meeting this season. If you guys don't know, the Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky, they already played 3 other times this season, and the first time they played, the Indiana Fever won 71-70 against the Chicago Sky. Then the Indiana Fever won again against the Chicago Sky 91-83. And then the last game that they played against each other was before the Olympic break, where the Chicago Sky won 88-87. And as we look at the box score in this game that they played right here, Angel Reese honestly had an absolute incredible performance here. 25 points and 16 rebounds. This was the game where she was doing it all. I'm not gonna lie to you. The last time they played, this was probably one of her best performances this season, with having 16 rebounds and 25 points, and Angel Reese leading the Chicago Sky to beat the Indiana Fever for the first time this season. Now they have another opportunity today to tie up the series 2-2. And this will be the last time they play this season because right now the Chicago Sky are the 8th seed right now, and the only way that they're gonna face off again is if the Chicago Sky go to the championship, and that's highly unlikely. In the last game that they played, the Chicago Sky won 88-87. Caitlin Clark had 17 points and 13 assists this game. This was the last time that they did play this game, but it's honestly going to be totally different now because this was before the Olympic break. Now, after the Olympic break, the Indiana Fever have just been all uphill. After the Olympic break, they've been all uphill. And the Chicago Sky have been all downhill. After the Olympic break, they've been downhill, like completely going down here. As you guys see in the standings right here, the Chicago Sky are 3-7 of their last 10 games, with a record of 11 wins and 19 losses. They're honestly on the verge of not making the playoffs this season. As you guys can see, the Atlanta, they're 1 game behind the Chicago Sky with 10 wins already. The Chicago Sky on the verge of not making the playoffs this season at all, while the Indiana Fever have 15 wins and 16 losses, with their last 10 games having 7 wins and 3 losses. Honestly, the Indiana Fever are on the verge of becoming the 6th seed above the Phoenix Mercury right now, and honestly, that would be a great playoff spot for them if they want to go far in the playoffs this season. And the Chicago Sky, since coming back from the Olympic break, they've been 1-5. Like, their first game back was August 15th against the Phoenix Mercury. They got blown out by 20 points. Next game, they actually beat the Sparks 90-86. They played the Phoenix Mercury again, and they lost again 86-68. In the next game, the Chicago Sky played the Connecticut Suns, and they lost 82-80. And then the next game that they played was against the Las Vegas Aces, which they lost 77-75, a very close game. Then the last game that they just played was against the Washington Mystics, where they lost 74-70 against one of the worst teams in the WNBA. So right now, the Chicago Sky are not looking good. And also with Kennedy Carter being out as well, I don't think the Chicago Sky have a chance at beating the Indiana Fever. There's honestly a chance that this game might be a blowout, in my opinion. There's a big opportunity there that this game might be a blowout. Now, if we go to the Indiana Fever, since their last loss against the Chicago Sky, which was before the Olympic break, 88-87, then they lost to the Seattle Storm. Then they beat the Phoenix Mercury, lost to the Aces, beat the New York Liberty, lost to the Mystic. Then they beat the Phoenix Mercury again. They beat the Lynx. Then they lost to the Dallas Wings before the Olympic break. Now, this is the Indiana Fever back from the Olympic break. They beat the Phoenix Mercury 98-89. The second game, they beat the Seattle Storm, one of the top 5 teams in the WNBA, 92-75. Then they just lost to the Lynx by 10, which the Lynx are the second best team in the WNBA right now. Then they beat the Atlanta Dream 84-79. Then they faced the Connecticut Suns, one of the top 3 teams in the WNBA, and they won 84-80. So they beaten 2 top 5 teams in the WNBA right now, coming back from the Olympic break. Now today they face a Chicago Sky team who is not headed in the right direction right now. They're honestly desperate to get more wins because they have a chance of not making the playoffs right now. I honestly feel like the Indiana Fever, after them beating the Connecticut Suns, a top 3 team in the WNBA, there's no way they should lose to Chicago Sky right now. the way that they're playing right now. I honestly feel like the Indiana Fever, they might blow out the Chicago Sky this game. Honestly, I can honestly see Caitlin Clark probably have like 20-25 points, 10 to 15 assists, and just going crazy, because this is honestly a rival matchup between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese for who's going to be Rookie of the Year, right? Well, the Rookie of the Year award, as of now, I mean, there's no talks at all. No one's talking about it at all, because it's obviously that Caitlin Clark is going to be Rookie of the Year this season, as she's leading the Indiana Fever to the first playoff spot in over 6 seasons, being the 7th seed right now, potentially the 6th seed. It'll be the first time the Indiana Fever will be in the playoffs in over 6 seasons, as the Chicago Sky with Angel Reese, they're on the verge of not making the playoffs at all. And if they don't make the playoffs, man, no shot Angel Reese wins Rookie of the Year. But I think it's solidified that Caitlin Clark will be Rookie of the Year. But it's great to see these two back at it again. Ticket prices are very high for this game, since it's Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. This should be honestly a great matchup tonight. I expect the Indiana Fever to get their revenge back against the Chicago Sky and get their win back and honestly blow them out. Because I honestly feel like this is going to be another personal game for Caitlin Clark. Everyone's saying that Angel Reese is better than Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is going to prove it today. Why she will win Rookie of the Year, and she's a much better and talented player on and off the court than Angel Reese.